I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you for joining me for your reality news check for Wednesday, August 10, 2011. We're going to begin with what most Americans want. And the question, of course, is does the Tea Party know it? And the Republicans, do they know it? And if they do they care? I think not, but I'll tell you about it. Also today, the debt ceiling debacle has hurt the reputations of some congressmen. We'll tell you about that. Plus, alleged deadbeat dad and Tea Party Congressman Joe Walsh of Illinois. Should this guy be in jail? Yeah, we'll talk about that. Also, the dirty deeds of Wells Fargo Bank, and we have news of Michael Jordan, also of deceased boxer Arturo Gatti. Was it murder? Also, out in an airplane, he's found dead. Was it suicide or murder? We'll tell you about it. Plus, a national manhunt out for 3 siblings. They are on the run for bank robbery. One of them is a female. Plus, is it the massacre of an entire tribe? We'll tell you. And why would this be done? We'll tell you about that. It's a sad story. And then can we stop the famine in Africa? Let's go on to your top stories. Most Americans want that special congressional committee that will be drafting a long-term solution to the debt crisis. They want that panel to definitely include tax hikes for the wealthy and businesses and deep cuts in domestic spending. This is according to a CNN ORC international poll. Here's what it found. Number one, let me tell you this, we're talking about an additional $1.5 trillion in deficit reduction that needs to occur rather quickly. Okay, according to the poll, 63% of the people polled say the super committee should call for increased taxes on higher income Americans and businesses. 57% say the committee's deficit reduction proposal should include major cuts in domestic spending. Nearly 2/3 say they want no major changes to Social Security or Medicare, and nearly 9 in 10 don't want any increase in taxes on middle class and lower income Americans. The question is, does the Tea Party listen to the polls? Do they even know about the polls? If so, do they read them? Can they comprehend them? And if they can comprehend them, and if they really are for the public, then they have to go this way. But we also know that Eric Cantor just yesterday told the Tea Partiers, I don't care what happens, resist tax increases on the wealthy. That doesn't sound like a man who cares to me. But then we know who Eric Cantor really is. Okay, let's go on. The debt ceiling debacle has really hurt the reputation of some members of Congress. We're talking about John Boehner, a Republican from Ohio. In July alone, his ratings down 10%. Also, the ratings went down of Mitch McConnell. You know who he is, a Republican from Kentucky. He's the Senate Minority Leader. Plop, his ratings went down. But interestingly enough, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from California, and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, a Democrat from Nevada, their ratings remain steady. All right, there's also more. 49% of Americans now think the lawmaker who represents them does not deserve re-election. We should tell you 70% of Americans say most members of Congress do not deserve re-election. I'll drink to that. They're wusses. Okay? Also, looking at Congress, that alleged deadbeat dad, Congressman and Tea Party member Joe Walsh from Illinois. He is vowing to fight claims by his ex-wife that he owes more than $100,000 in child support. And I think she said, Joe, by the way, it's $117,000. We know you're disputing it. We hear that song and dance a lot, but you got 3 or 4 kids down there that need the cash. Apparently, guess what? Joe Walsh did not include any child support debt on his financial disclosures to Congress, and that is required. Any debt more than $10,000 has to be disclosed, so he could be in trouble with the House Ethics Committee. He better be in trouble with the House Ethics Committee after Weiner and Wu. Yeah, he better be in trouble with the House Ethics Committee. Okay, he's a deadbeat dad. Those kids are out there needing money, and guess what? We got to pay for them. When they get in trouble, they come onto the public dole, and we have to pay for them. Joe, we're not paying for your kids. Take care of them yourself. You've got the money, buddy. Plus, you're technically on the public dole, darling, because we're paying your salary. We're not paying for you to not pay for your kids. Get the job done. But guess what? For Joe Walsh, this is what he says. No, I'm going to fight the charges, quote, privately, quietly, and legally. Well, we're glad you're doing something legally, Joe. That would be important, though you didn't make those financial disclosures. But as for quietly and privately, because you know Joe Walsh. He spent a lot of time on television accusing Democrats of being unable to manage their finances. And, of course, as we know, those chickens, they do come home to roost, and they are now roosting on Joe Walsh. Well, fortunately, Lawrence O'Donnell has integrity. He's on MSNBC, you know, The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, and he had Joe Walsh on as a spokesman, but he's banned him from the show until he pays his child support. Thank you, Lawrence. So we know the typical Tea Party rhetoric is alive and well and living in Washington. One rule for you, another rule for them. That has to stop. Now, let's move on to the business sector. Did you know that the AARP Foundation Litigation Fund is suing Wells Fargo Bank? Now, the reason they're doing it is because the AARP says that Wells Fargo failed to allow borrowers, surviving spouses and heirs of reverse mortgage borrowers to purchase the property for the appraised value after the loans came due, which is, of course, after a death. According to the AARP, Wells Fargo, the low-down dirty dog preying on the elderly, Wells Fargo illegally implemented 2 important rule changes in 2008 that negatively impacted surviving spouses and kept them from getting the property. Now, just so you know, folks, I know you're wondering, that bank, or should I say bankster Wells Fargo, I wonder what Standard & Poor's has done to their debt rating, because they sure have had a lot of trouble this year. Well, it's AA-, and guess what? It has not been changed since 2009. So in 2 years, Standard & Poor's, with their high and mighty selves, they thought nothing of downgrading the debt rating of the United States and what it would do to every person in this country, 300 million Americans, but they won't downgrade the debt of Wells Fargo Bank, probably because they don't want to make the financial markets get too woozy. But what makes it more woozy than the U.S. federal government? Because it is a political agenda that Standard & Poor's has. It's political. It's against the Obama administration. It has nothing to do with the money. Because if it had to do with the money and the flow of the money, they would downgrade the banksters as quickly as possible. They've been sued by everybody. The Justice Department is investigating. Wells Fargo's been sued by different cities, Baltimore. Everybody's trying to sue them because of what they've done to decimate these communities. But don't tell Standard & Poor's. Okay? All right, news tidbits. Michael Jordan's daughter, can you believe Jasmine is old enough to go to college? Yeah, she's going to Syracuse this fall. We wish her well. Then, polygamous leader Warren Jeffs is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Yeah, that's for sexually assaulting 2 underage followers. As you know, he was convicted and sentenced yesterday to life in prison. He is the leader, or should we say former leader, of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, let's go to Korea. Get this. Police in South Korea, they say they found a passenger hanged in a plane bathroom. They believe he killed himself during the flight. He's 43 years old. They say they found him hanging by his belt from a clothes hanger. Those bathrooms aren't even, I don't get that. They're not even that tall. They're not that, how did he do that? He really wanted to kill himself, and he was, shall we say, quite successful. Anyway, they found him after the flight landed. South Korea's suicide rate, you should know, is the highest in the developed world. In sports, the former manager of late boxing champ Arturo Gatti says he's got new evidence that will prove Gatti's death in 2009 was not due to a suicide. Now, you'll remember that Gatti's wife was arrested for his murder, but later released. In crime, 3 siblings accused of opening fire at a Florida officer and then robbing a bank in Georgia are on the run. There is a national manhunt, everybody looking for them. 21-year-old Ryan Edward Doherty, 26-year-old Dylan Doherty Stanley, and 29-year-old Lee Grace Doherty. She's a female. One of the robbers brandished an AK-47 rifle, while another was photographed by a security camera with a machine gun. What is wrong with them? And then in international news, Brazilian officials say they think it was drug smugglers that got rid of, massacred an entire village. It was a very isolated village, the last known people of this tribe, and they think the drug smugglers, of course, in the interest of drugs, they'll do anything, that they massacred a tribe. It's pathetic. Finally, today, the number of people fleeing famine-hit areas of Somalia could overwhelm international aid efforts in the Horn of Africa. That is the word from the United Nations. The UN estimating that tens of thousands of people have died from malnutrition in Somalia in recent months, and saying over 11 million people across East Africa need food aid because of a long-running drought in the region. Those are your stories. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Follow me on Facebook, Carol Angela Davis. Follow me on Twitter, @CarolAngelaD, or just follow me. Please join my daily broadcast. You can find them here on YouTube and a whole lot of other sites. Again, I'm Carol Angela Davis. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, new stories. Have a good day.